We should do this to everyone.
Yeah, we should, really.
Please don't start it quite yet.
Well, too late. It's already started. So, I saw this thing on Facebook a while back about questions to ask your father, and I thought I really should do something like that. All right. So, what comes to mind when you think about growing up in Corning?
Freedom. Going for a mile, 2 miles.
It sounds like you're a Republican commercial.
Nobody worrying about me.
Yeah.
Playing in the street till dark
Yeah.
in the summer. Fishing with my dad.
What did you love to do as a kid before you got into high school? What was the thing that you loved doing?
I would ride my bike out to Hall Creek and catch little sunfish and catfish and pike and
Pike in there?
other critters. Well,
Catfish?
Sure.
squawfish.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Squawfish?
When you got into high school, what was it that you loved to do?
I love playing football. Played 4 years of football.
Did you have a season where you were undefeated?
We did. My junior year, I was a starting right tackle. Strong tackle.
What was your number?
72.
72.
And I just talked to some of my old classmates last weekend and actually talked to the mayor of Corning, who played next to me in the line. He was the guard, and he remembered the play when I was sitting on the bench and didn't see that my team had recovered a fumble and my outstanding tailback for the whole north of California ran about 80 yards for a touchdown, and it was called back because the right tackle wasn't on the line of scrimmage.
What do you remember most about your teen years besides football?
I remember having huge crushes on a few girls, none of whom cared a bit about me. Did very little dating. I was not a social person. Had good friends, spent a lot of time with my good friends.
Yeah. Who were your good friends?
Marty Mathieson, Richard Heine, Bob Crooker, Vern Heron early, Mike Powell. Kept in touch with several of those.
Yeah. What do you remember most about your mom?
Early on, I remember butterfly kisses and Eskimo kisses,
Yeah.
rubbing noses and eyelashes. Later on, I remember her just staying home and taking care of everything and very comfortable growing up. And then, when I was in 8th grade, her saying, "It's time you learn to drive." And she put me behind the wheel of our fancy Chrysler 300, I think. And I drove about a block and started to turn right. She said no. I turned back left. Jumped a ditch, went between a tree and a telephone pole, started into an olive orchard, but got it turned, so I just went down the barbed wire fence line until I knocked down a few fence posts. And then the car was stuck in the mud on the wrong side of the ditch, off the road. And she said, "Let's change spots real fast."
What was most important to your mom? What was important to your mom?
Taking care of the 3 of us, I guess.
Yeah.
seeing that we were comfortable and well dressed and had good manners, mostly.
What do you remember of your grandparents?
Very little of my mother's parents. They were not warm, cuddly people.
Yeah.
Grandfather Hal was a retired Indian agent, and when I knew him, he was living in just west of Portland, Oregon. We would stop there for a day or two on our way to my dad's mother's place, but I wasted that time. I could have asked about the Indian stuff, and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I was very close with my grandmother, my dad's mother, Aminda Stromsness. Spent a lot of time with her, probably close to 2 years all put together. I think I stayed with her for a while when my dad was in the Army Air Corps in World War II. I think my mother went to Louisiana to be with him for a while, and I stayed with my grandmother. And it was always warm and loving, and she had lots of cookies made when I got there. Early on, it was amazing. She had a chicken coop. She had a big berry patch down below the house. I remember her getting chickens ready to eat by chopping their heads off on a wooden block.
Yeah.
She had a big wood shed. I played in the wood shed a lot. I had a imaginary friend, Nels, in South Bend, Washington, where she lived. I couldn't swim when I was young. I was afraid of the water, but I loved to fish, and she'd take me down to the dock and tie a rope around me and tie it to one of the pillars or piers holding up the dock,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't fall in and drown. And there was a raspberry patch, and there were 2 Gravenstein apple trees, and it was always just wonderful. And I had an uncle who died when I was probably 6 or so, but I remember there was a sandbox on the downhill side of the house, and he would put coins in it. And I and some other kid, my cousin Paul and Jeff Everett, would dig through the sandbox looking for the coins. I think a nickel or a dime was probably the biggest one. That was Uncle Morris.
Yeah. That's fun. What do you remember most about your dad?
Remember how big and strong he was?
He was big and strong.
Remember a lot of fishing, and he didn't push it. In fact, I begged and begged to go when I was probably 6, 8, 9 years old, and he said no, I wasn't big enough or old enough. And then I started being able to go. I was really excited.
Yeah. What do you think was most important to your dad?
I think the family was, but his work was very, very important. He was widely known for being very open, honest, fair,
We're gonna have
very good lawyer.
We're gonna have to get to some funnier questions here. How did you choose your career? What was your favorite part about it?
When I was in high school, I wanted to be a fisheries biologist. And Dad got hold of Fish and Game, Fish and Wildlife, and got copies of their pay scales, and that didn't look real promising. And one day, coming back from fishing, I think probably an early morning before school and work, once daylight savings time was over, there was another hour in the morning, and we would go fish for an hour and then zoom back to Corning. And one morning he asked me what I wanted to do, and I think I probably said fisheries. He said, you might want to think about law school and being a lawyer, small town lawyer. He said, you know, when you have a football game in Susanville or Willows or someplace, I just close the office and go to the game. And if you're working for a big company, you probably can't do that. And that was in the back of my head, and came up again when I was nearing the end of college and as an anthropology major, and looked at the job possibilities in that, which were slim and none. Probably the best I could have done was find a junior college somewhere that wanted an anthropology professor and maybe have to teach about Southeast Asian religions or some part of it that I didn't really care about. So law school popped up again, and I went for it, and it worked.
What do you think made you successful at work?
I think similar to my dad. I think I was known as being fair and working hard for people. I didn't do anything glamorous, but people had a legal problem, I could help them with it. And I didn't work long hours because I like to spend a lot of time with family stuff too.
What times in your life truly tested your mettle, and what did you learn about yourself by dealing or not dealing with them?
I've had a very easy life. Not a lot of tough times. When the local justice court judge resigned in midterm, Sharon and I decided I'd run for judge, and that was no fun. Any politician who says they enjoy it, I think, is lying. And there were some unpleasant things that came up in the race. Somebody plastered on the cars of all the cars parked at our church something saying that other candidate was the only Christian running for judge. And I'm not much of a Christian, but that still irritated me. But I won the election.
Thank goodness.
In the last couple of years were tough.
Yeah. What do you remember about when Rune and I were born?
I remember being very excited. I remember more about Rune because we drove to the old hospital in Mount Shasta, and it was in a big snowstorm. And in the intersection right before getting to the hospital, there were snowplows in the middle of the road, and we couldn't go. And I don't remember entirely, but I think I got out of the car and yelled at one of the guys over the sound of the machinery that there's a baby about to be born here, and they cleared the way for us. And our good friends, the Vogels and Castleberries, and mostly those, fed me and helped us early on.
Were you ever scared to be a parent?
I was scared to be a parent when you staggered to the sideline at Butte Valley High School and collapsed on the sideline with what turned out to be a neck sprain.
Yeah.
It was very scary. Scary when you guys would get sick, when you were babies.
It's always scary.
I'm just looking for other questions here that would be good. What are the 3 best decisions you've ever made?
Marrying Sharon. Running for judge in 1992.
Not going on the boat in down in the Keys this last time. I wouldn't call that one of your better ones. You got 2. What's your 3rd?
I did go on the boat.
I know that wasn't one of your best decisions.
No, best. Can't come up with a 3rd.
You only made 2 good decisions in your whole life.
I made a lot of good decisions, but you asked for the 3 best. and
Yeah.
I can't tell you what the 3rd best
We did
was.
sort of elementary school and high school. What about college? What were you into when you were in college? What was it like being at Cal in the 60s and having short cropped hair and not being a stoner?
Most of us were that way before I graduated in '64. School changed later.